Hello everyone. We're Team Neon Nomads. Our project is Kitchen Sink. This is our present agenda, and this is the agenda for the presentation we're going to present. We have introduction, project description, team members' roles and responsibilities, team working agreement, personas, MVP, user stories, test cases, acceptance criteria. We also have the backlog, schedule, diagrams, all the UML diagrams, and technologies and languages. We also have the algorithms, retrospective, burn down charts, and some of the application screenshots from our working web application and also the GitHub link. We also included our improvements from the last feedback session. So our project KitchenSync is designed to make our pantry management easy and also the meal planning easy in our day-to-day lives. It doesn't matter if you're a working professional or a busy mom or with a busy family and you're a student. KitchenSync makes your life simple. The project description: KitchenSync streamlines your pantry management and meal planning seamlessly. It is for those active individuals with families and who find it challenging to keep up with their pantry inventory and curb food disposal. The KitchenSync is a sophisticated kitchen assistant platform that enhances the management of your pantry and offers recipe options that fit your available ingredients, organizes meal plans, reminds you of the shelf life of your food items. Unlike other conventional inventory items and static shopping lists, our application intelligently adapts to your dietary preferences and schedules, guaranteeing the optimal use of your groceries and simplifying the meal preparation process. My teammate Sahit is going to continue.
These are our team members and their roles. Hemanvita is a team lead and also will do front end. Shashank will do front end. Kapil Krishna will do back end. Neha is a DevOps engineer. Next slide, please. Shashank Nanapaneni is do software development, and me is do back end, and Aditya will do software development side, and Sujita is a test engineer. And coming to teamwork agreement, the teamwork agreement outlines expectations, roles, and conduct for a team of 8 members. It also use key values such as respect, open communication, accountability, collaboration, and flexibility. Each member's roles and responsibilities are subject to change as the project evolves. Meetings are scheduled weekly on Saturdays, with additional daily scrum meetings, and agendas are shared in advance via email or WhatsApp. Attendance is expected, and communication channels include mail and WhatsApp Messenger. Decision-making processes are defined to ensure that important decisions are made collectively, aiming for consensus whenever possible. In cases where any consensus cannot be reached, a majority vote is used, with critical decisions documented and shared with all the team members to maintain transparency. Conflict resolution mechanisms are established to address any disagreements or tensions that may arise. The emphasis is on resolving conflicts openly and respectfully, with the option to evaluate neutral third party such as any scrum lead. Work distribution is based on roles, expertise, and workload balance, with the tasks assigned accordingly. Members are encouraged to seek help or delegate tasks if they feel overwhelmed or promoting a sense of empowerment. With these regular feedback sessions and performance reviews are conducted to provide opportunities for reflection, improvement, and alignment with our project goals. This ensures that our team remains focused on its objectives and continuously strives for the excellence. Also, we acknowledge to be reviewed and amended as the project progress. Any proposed changes are subject to collective agreement by the team, reinforcing and collaborating the nature of the team's working dynamics. Next slide will go to Hema.
We have 4 different personas in our project, and the first persona I'm going to talk about is Kel. He is a 21-year-old Pace University freshman. He comes from a low-income family. He lives in a dormitory. He's cheerful, disciplined, hardworking, and initiative. Kyle needs a system that helps him manage his mini fridge in his dormitory, and he also needs a system that can help him suggest some recipes that are based upon the available ingredients with him. And he also needs a system which kind of like reminds him to replenish his items before they expire. The second person I'm going to introduce is Ella. She's a 32-year-old advocate. She leads a very busy life and she's so health conscious and she loves enjoying cook. She enjoys cooking and nutritional meals. And Ella needs a system as she is mindful of the food waste and wants a system that is like efficiently handles her food inventory. She seeks a system that recommends her like recipes according to her dietary preferences and nutrition goals, while also alerting her about the upcoming expiry dates of her inventory. The third person I'm going to talk about is Michelle. She's a 44-year-old busy mom. She's also an advocate. Michelle is a working mom of four. She juggles between demanding job and her household responsibilities. She frequently struggles with meal planning and often finds herself throwing away food. She needs a system that helps her in monitoring her food inventory and suggests simple and healthy recipes based on the availability and notify her of the expiring incoming expiry dates. Um, the next slide is going to be presented by Shashank. Oh. We also have our fourth persona, Diago. He's a 49-year-old restaurant manager. He runs a small restaurant and he's specialized in his local cuisine. And he's creative, community-minded, entrepreneurial, and passionate. Diago desires a system that can assist him in monitoring the restaurant's food inventory and suggests recipes utilizing existing ingredients and alert him about the nearing expiry dates of food items. MVP is going to be presented by Shashank.
Hi, I'm Shashank. I'm going to explain you about our MVP. The MVP which we are trying to build is planned in such a way that we include all the functionalities which we plan to implement in our app. Once our MVP is built, the users will be able to streamline their pantry management. It will be useful for both individuals like us who cook in our kitchen in our daily lives, and also for restaurant and small hotel managers who organize and utilize their pantry for their day-to-day operations. Our products aims to reduce the waste by sending alerts to customers on their expiring inventory items. It will also aim to help customers achieve their meal planning by tailored recipe suggestions and how to cook their food as fresh as possible.
Hi, this is Neha Srinivasaya. I'll be presenting about the user stories. Basically, user stories are the description of software features for the user's perspective, integral to agile development, and they are articulate of who the user is and what they want and why they want it. For example, a student who wants to limit his expenses, which he's spending on his food, and wanted to like eat healthy. That is one of the user stories. Likewise, we have many of it. For example, a mom who wants to give her kids proper meal with not spending too much money on like wasting food, which she already has in her pantry. And also we have a chef who wants to utilize his pantry products fully and completely without wasting his food. And in the next slide, we also have a few more examples. Like a restaurant owner, or again a parent and a health instructor, and also a bakery owner. All of them, they have different perspective of what they want and what are they expecting from our app or our web application. Next slide would be presenting by Sujita.
Yeah. Hello everyone, my name is Sujita. I would be explaining you briefly about the test cases. Our first test case would be user account creation and login. Any user or customer can only get through our sign up process with valid data, and we will in we can't access through the invalid data. Like in the name field, they have to enter the name, and in the age field they have to enter the numeric values, and at the phone number place they have to enter the valid uh, phone number, and at the email they have to enter the valid email where the verification process is done, and the email or phone number which is not valid will go into invalid data, and our app doesn't take that data. Next, our credentials should be valid, as I mentioned before, and we will credentials like exact username. We have criteria for username where repetition can't be allowed, and as we all know, the password has 8-letter criteria with capture letter, numeric, and symbol. Only those credentials are accepted. And recovery process. If in case the anyone forgets the password, we give hints, and they can have some mm, pet names or something where they can recover through the email and through their phone number. Our second test case would be pantry management. A person can add, any user can add the items to the pantry, and they can update or delete the items whatever they bring in all over the week. And searching and sorting, we have the categories of items, so they can search through the categories like produce and full dairy and frozen foods. So like that they can sort the items and search through the categories. And third case would be expiration date tracking. Test alerts would be sent when the expiration is approaching through the for the items they have purchased. And time frames, alerts will be tested, like we will test for each case the test framed alerts, how they are being sent and how it is working. Fourth test case would be recipes recommendation. Test uh, recipes recommendation would be based on the pantry items which they bring, and we will filter the dietary preferences according to the people's dietary preferences and the restrictions which they enter in their app. According to that, we recommend the recipes, and then we test the responses, like if they have only few ingredients, how our app is giving the recipes. We test based on that. And uh, ba- uh, yep according to that. And next would be Aditya. Would say acceptance.
Hello everyone. So I'll be explaining the acceptance criteria. So the acceptance criteria for test case one, it is the user can create an account using email and setting a password. So each user will have a unique email and password for their account. The user can also log in using his email and password. Because after signing up, you can just log into your account. The user can recover or reset the password using their verified email. The email will need to be verified before the user logs in every time. Acceptance criteria for test case 2. The user can add their pantry with the required information. So each user can add their specific customized pantry according to the requirement. The user can edit or delete items from their pantry, which is according to the user's needs. He can update the pantry anytime he wants. Also, they can view their pantry as a sorted list by name or expiry date, so the user doesn't have to check the expiry dates or worry about eating expired food. Acceptance criteria for test case 3. The user receives alerts for the pantry items in the set time frames. So according to the time frames set by the user, he'll receive alerts for all the pantry items. The user can customize alert time frames. So the user can customize the time frames on whatever time he wants and according to his needs. The acceptance criteria for test case 4. The application suggests recipe based on items available in the pantry. So the recipe suggestions will be based upon how many items and what items the user has in his pantry, and nothing other than that. The system allows the user to filter recipes by dietary instructions. So keeping the dietary needs and health consciousness of all the users, the system will allow the user to filter the recipes. If pantry items are insufficient for recommendations, the system informs the user accordingly, so that he doesn't have to uh, get the items which are not there in the pantry or create something out of the box. Over to you, Sasank. Next slide.
My name is Sasank. I'm going to talk about product backlog. We started this from February 15th and ended it on March 13th. So we started on deciding on the new piece, and we worked on all the diagrams available. And then we worked on login and home pages, backend tables, and test cases, retrospectives. And the last one we worked on is a wiki page and the acceptance criteria. So this is like all the work we have done, and we also have the set dates which we need to complete by then. And then the next slide, it's a schedule. So these are all the Gantt chart is on the right side, and this is the schedule for the sprint 2 from February 15th to March 13th. We worked on MVPs. We had a lot of team meetings on MVP and test cases. And we also worked on diagrams, and this is all the percentages you can see on how much you established on this particular dates. And the next slide is a schedule for the sprint 3. We worked on, so we wrote everything we were going to work on and tasks to be assigned. So these are all the teamwork assignment, working on MVP, preparing test cases, retrospective, and the metrics. So over to the next slide. My friend will take over.
Hi everyone, this is Kapil. These are the diagrams based on our tables and the databases for our project. The first diagram is the architecture diagram. Emma, can you go to the first? Yeah. So coming to the architecture diagram, the user interface acts as a gateway between the functionalities and the database. So when a client is accessing our application through a browser or an app, like from a website through a laptop or through a mobile. So the authentication services comes into the place, and then it comes to the gateway where user interface like UI for the interacting with the app will be there. So, and from there, you can access the functionalities like user management, pantry management, meal planner, recipe suggestions, and notification services. These all read and write the data from the database, like user management. User can create an account or delete these account, like pantry management. You can add pantry items or delete the items. Meal planner, you can change his user preferences, or you can add a new preference. Coming to the recipe suggestions, so when user access this functionality recipe suggestion from user interface, it will suggest the recipe for the user based on all the ingredients we have. And the last one is notification service. So this is like basic overall view of our architecture for this project. Hema, can you go to the second slide? And the second one is our context diagram. So the main point of our project is pantry management. So when a user, so we have two kind of users. One is like a regular user and the other one is a business user. So when a user or business owner, so they have like a couple of options to do. So they can first buy the pantry items, and they can set the expiration date, or it can be like if it's an organic material, the expiration date would be set automatically, and everything goes to the pantry management system. If it expires or if it's going to expire, the user or small business owner will get notification based on that. And you can also manually enter the items bought, and then the next step would be categorizing the items based on like if it's organic material, like if it's fruits or veggies, or if it's a meat, or and like if it's a milk. So each item has a different expiration dates, and each one should be like expiration date would be calculated differently, and everything comes under like all this matter under the recipe recommendation, because when it's recommending a recipe, it should get all the pantry items which are not expired or which are yet to expire, and it gives notification to the user at the end, like giving like couple of recommendation based on the items here, and you can choose or download the recipe. And this is a basic context of our project. And Hema, can you go to the next slide? And this is the ER diagram. Coming to the ER diagram, we have like total of 9 tables. So the first table is user table, which has the user ID as a primary key, and the other entities are username, email, and dietary preferences. And the next one is pantry item, which has a item ID as a primary key and user ID, which is from user table as a foreign key. And the other entities, coming to the next one, recipe table, recipe ID is a primary key. And coming to recipe ingredient ID is a primary key, and recipe ID and ingredient ID are foreign keys. User preferences, preference ID is the primary key, and user ID from user table is a foreign key. Alert table, alert ID is a primary key, and user ID and item ID are the foreign keys. Meal plan ID is a primary key, and user ID and recipe ID from user and recipe tables are foreign keys. Ingredient ID is the primary key, it doesn't have any foreign keys. Inventory log, which helps us to keep a log of all the items added or deleted or changes made to the inventory. So primary key would be log ID, and foreign keys are item ID and user ID. So and we don't have any one-to-one relation between our tables. So all the relations are one-to-many. As you can see, one user can have multiple user preferences, one user can have multiple pantry items, one user can one recipe ingredient can be used in many recipes. One user can have many meal plans. One ingredient can be used in many recipe ingredients. As you can see, like all of the relations are one-to-many. None of them are one-to-one. Hema, can you go next slide? Yeah. And this is our sequence diagram. If you see to the left side of the screen, that's our user interface. So user can first register or log into the system, where the authentication services come to the place. Then he can manage items like adding or deleting or adding expiration dates to the product, or adding already available pantry items to the existing pantry list. The next function would be recipes. So he can explore the recipes based on the pantry items he have, and he can create a meal plan based on the recipes provided by the system. And he can also set certain preferences, like he can manually set some preferences, like what kind of meals you want to see, what kind of recipes you want to see. At the end, based on his selections and preferences, you will get alerts. And the last one is to the right corner, inventory logs, which is optional, but it can show, like as I already mentioned, all the details, like when an item is added or deleted and such functionalities. Hema, next one. And this is our state diagram. So the main part would be login activity. If he's a new customer, he should sign up. If he's existing, he will log in. And these are different branches if he is unsuccessful in those conditions. So after logging in correctly, he will be choosing the kind of user he is for the first time, if he's a personal user or a business owner. And these these doesn't change much functionalities, only like certain part changes where user will get more recipe recommendation, where business owner will get alerts mainly on like restocking or something like that. So you can view food items, add food items, you can get recipe recommendation, you can also provide feedback to the system. In viewing, you can view them like category, you can also edit the category, like adding or deleting a new category. And these are all the categories available as of now. For recipe recommendation, you can choose the recipe, one of the recipe, and download it or save it. And this is our state diagram. Hema, can you go to the next one? And this is our class diagram. So for the first class, users class, you can see all the entities in it, recipe class and ingredient. So use pantry items, user preferences, meal plans, recipe ingredients, alerts, and inventory. These are all our classes and which represented in class diagram. So user as pantry items, user can set user preferences, user can plan meal, which is, and you can also receive alerts. Pantry items can trigger alerts, and these logs are maintained by inventory log. Recipes are used in meal plans and also included in the recipe ingredients. An ingredient is a part of recipe ingredients class. I think I tried to explain all the relation between all the classes as clear as possible. Hema, next slide. Now Aditya will come.
So the technologies used in this project are Java, HTML, React, JavaScript, Node.js, MySQL, Visual Studio Code, GitHub, Jira Board, and Figma. So as we all know that Java is widely used programming language known for its versatility and platform independence. In this project, we've used it as a backend, used it for backend as well as front-end development depending on the requirement, as well as for business logic implementation or server-side processing. For HTML, React, and JavaScript, these are basically essential technologies for building interactive web applications, and we have used it for adding interactivity and dynamic behavior to our web pages. We'll be using it. Also, Node.js, as we all know, it is a runtime environment for executing JavaScript code outside of a web browser. And in this, we'll be using it for the server-side scripting or handling backend logic. Also, we'll be using MySQL. MySQL, as we all know, it's an open source relational database management system. Along with that, we'll be using Visual Studio Code as it's a popular source code editor developed by Microsoft. Along with that, we've also be using GitHub, Jira Board, and Figma. Jira Board is basically a project management tool which we'll be using for managing tasks, tracking project progress, assigning work to all the team members, and prioritizing issues. And Lastly, we'll be using Figma, which is a web-based design and prototyping tool, which we'll be using for collaborative design, real-time editing, and developer handoff capabilities. Next slide. Along with this, we'll be using some algorithms and libraries which are scikit-learn, PyTorch, Springboard, Django, k-nearest neighbors, logistic regression, decision trees, and long short-term memory networks. Next slide. Over to, my colleague will explain the retrospective now.
So coming up to retrospective, so we have discussed many good points on what went well, what can be improved, and action items. So some of them are like communication with team and understanding all the deliverables, user stories from everyone, and adaptability changes to feedback. So and the main focus on what can be improved are like completing the work within the given timeline. For example, when we give our teammates a particular task to do and they were unable to complete the time, so that would be lagging behind for everyone. So we need to work on pretty much on that and join meetings at the planned time. So instead of postponing meetings and having irregular timelines. And coming up to what went well is managing unplanned items and feedback sections among each other. Time deadlines, planning all the deadlines initially and submit the PPT and everything within the time. Well, the main important action items are communicating with the teammates of which if anyone is lagging behind or and putting up meetings on every alternate days so we can have like a perfect timetable set up and everyone in the team can follow up on the particular tasks they're assigned with. So next slide, please.
Burn-on chart is a visual tool that helps us track the completion of tasks over time. The horizontal axis represents time, spanning from March 11 to March 13. The vertical axis shows the amount of work remaining, which we measure in units, like story points. The blue line indicates the actual remaining work. It starts high on March 11, showing we had a significant amount of work at the beginning. The gray line represents our ideal work completion trajectory. It's a straight line that shows where we should be each day to finish on time. The shaded area between the two lines represents the variance from our plan. On March 12th, we were ahead of schedule, as indicated by the remaining work line dipping below the guideline. However, by March 13th, we are back on track with our guidelines. Next slide, we'll head over to Shashank.
Yeah, so coming to our web app, we have started building it, and these are the login page, registration page, and inventory page which we are going to show. So this login page will be used by existing customers to log in into our application and track their inventory systems. Next slide. And this is for the new users who are not registered with us, and they can fill in the details and can register with us. All these details will get fed into our database, which we can use it in the later purposes. Next slide. Yeah, so this is the inventory slide. Basically, the users will can add their grocery items. Like for example, as we can see here, there are some vegetables added, and they can also view whatever the items are there in their list. And if the items are extinguished or they don't have anymore, they can delete from the inventory as well. And further developments need to be done in this page, and we'll be showing it in the next sprint. Next slide will be continued. Yeah, so this is our GitHub page. You can visit this to see our code and all the deliverables.
So for the improvements, firstly, we thought of changing the look of our presentation slides by changing the entire theme of our project. We also tried to implement all the feedbacks we got, like by adding opening and closing, which we missed the last time. And also we removed the UIDs, which were present in the team member slides, since it was confidential a little bit. And project description was modified according to the template. We added the retrospectives, and we also added link to the teamwork agreement. Also mentioning about the link which is present in user stories, which I might have forgot to mention the last time. And also we added algorithms, and persona slides were also changed a little bit. Thank you. Bon appetit.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.